I can't really conceive of character separately from dynamic. I never write about characters in isolation, and I can't think of a novel that is about a character in isolation. It would be a very experimental novel, very much a break with what we consider the novel to be doing. Generally, novels are about situating characters within social settings and obviously within intimate relationships, personal relationships and families as well. So that's sort of like, that's how I conceive of character. A character to me is someone who is engaged in one or more dynamics at a given time. And I can't actually imagine what it would be like to write about a character who was just on their own all the time. Like, it would be a real challenge as a novelist. And it's not what I think of when I think of my characters. They become who they are through their interactions with other people. And then so the other side of that is that, like, sort of speaking conceptually or philosophically, I'm much more interested in the relationship as a unit of social life than the individual. I'm not really attracted to individualism as a philosophy, and I'm not really interested in the individual as a unit in the novel either. I'm much more interested in coming up with an interesting relationship and then allowing that relationship to change how I think about the people who are participating in it. Look, I wasn't trying to write a tract on what relationships of the future or even the present moment should look like. I'm just interested in exploring what they do look and feel like maybe in a cultural moment where certainties around relationship forms have deteriorated slightly. Having said that, like, I think, Lorraine, Connell's mother, does remark to him at one point, oh, when I was your age, we were either going out with someone or we weren't. Like, and Connell replies, well, where did I come from then? Because actually, Connell has never known his father, and Lorraine got pregnant when she was 17. And I think his response is apt in one sense, because really what he's saying is, although the fictions in which we participated socially, like the dominant fictions were that you were either in a monogamous relationship or you weren't, that was never actually the reality of how people lived their lives. That was how we said we were living our lives, but it's not reflected in people's real experiences. People's real experiences were a lot more ambiguous and uncertain than that a lot of the time, the same way that ours are now, except that now maybe the labels that we place on things reflect that ambiguity to a greater extent. So I mean, I think like there has always been, like, monogamy has been a big ideal for a long time. I don't know that it's been a big reality for a long time. Yes, and so I'm interested in the slippages between the language that we use and what it actually describes. I suppose all writers are interested in that, right? But I'm interested in it specifically when it comes to relationships. There's a quote which I really ought to look up because I'm gonna mangle it really badly and paraphrase it. But in Margaret Drabble's novel *The Millstone*, the narrator says at some point something like, "I'm sure the experiences that I was having were very ordinary experiences, and if they weren't, it wouldn't be worth writing about them." And I remember being really struck by that when I read it, because it felt so true to me. And what I really love to read about and to write about are experiences that are in fact completely banal, but that don't necessarily conform to our narratives about what normality is. So like experiences that maybe feel weird while they're happening, but are in fact like utterly run of the mill because they happen to pretty much everyone. I think the two main characters have very different relationships to the idea of normality. So as you say, Marianne feels totally alienated from the idea of normality. Sometimes she seems to feel like she's a little bit better than normal people. Sometimes she actually thinks she's a lot worse than normal people. Connell, I think, at various points in the novel, just desperately wants to attain what he sees as the status of normality. That's like what he aspires to. And when he falls short of it, he becomes very anxious. So they do negotiate different relationships with the normal. But at the end of the day, they are both really just very normal. Nothing that happens to them is exceptional at all. Everything that they undergo is just like mundane. But that's what I'm interested in. I mean, obviously my own life is also very mundane, and it interests me because I'm living it. So I'm interested in writing about like just regular stuff. And I don't know why that is. I mean, I think I'm interested in inhabiting the idea of normal and sort of trying to expand or subvert or question it from within it, rather than stepping outside it and trying to observe it from there, if that makes any sense. I don't know if it does.